Hi guys, this is gonna be the first video of Wonderful Wednesdays where I express like the thoughts I've been thinking, basically. Like let my mind wander and hopefully helps you guys let your minds wander that you know, think of things in a different way. Um yeah. So I was watching Monsters Inc. earlier this week and I was watching like it's not a trilogy, it's the duplicates. So I was watching Monsters University actually. And he's the principal of the school is talking to Sully, and Sully is like, "No, Mike is like amazing. Like he's like the best scary. He's like he's the stuff, man. Like he knows everything." And then she's like, "But do you think he's scary?" And I was like, I like that line, and I wrote it down because I like wanted to think about it because I thought it was interesting. It was like that's his perception of Mike. He's like he doesn't think Mike's scary. He's not intimidated by Mike. He's like he's amazing, but he's not scary. Like he can't do that. And he does that so much that at the end of the movie, like he does he cheats, and so because he didn't believe in Mike. But then they go on to have this wonderful career with each other, and so it's like his perception of him didn't matter. He didn't let it impact him, and eventually he grew to see like even though he has these weaknesses, they can be used as strengths, and that there are other factors that come into play. Um, and that people's perception or monsters' perceptions of you are not always like the case. And so it's like the doubt that somebody gives you is not yours. It's like it's their own head, it's their what they think, it's their doubt because Sully would be nothing without Mike. And it's true. Mike knows the perception is low key. If I saw Mike in a room, hell, I'd be scared out of my mind. I'd be like, who's that one eyed guy over there? No. And so, no, and so I think that's like a very, like, I feel like a lot of shows, not shows, like movies these days, they don't really have a lot of lessons built into them, but I think that that was a good underlying lesson of like people's perception of you doesn't really matter. It's more so it's just how you see yourself. People can tell you how what they think about you and this that, and the third, but at the end of the day, like Mike knew. He was like, but I know I have my skills, and it's like I can get the job done. Like I know what I'm capable of because I'm the only person in my shoes. And so it's like if I said I was gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. If I know it's going to happen, then it shall be. And that's all there is to it. I think lately a lot of people get wrapped up in their own head about outside perception because we have the ability to see everybody else online, and so seeing everybody else online kind of lets us drift into this like false narrative that a lot of like social media holds. And it also makes us think that a lot more people are watching us than we think. And that may be the case in some cases. Like there we have these big people online that people are watching everything that they do, waiting for them to slip up to catch them. But then there's also a case where some people just scroll and they just consume media to consume media. They're not watching you as intently as you think. Or it's the same way if you're standing in the supermarket and you think somebody's looking at you, trying to analyze you, pick you apart, like, why did they think I'm doing this? Like, oh my God. But they're just admiring you, and then their day goes on, and they're just like, oh, that person looks pretty nice. But you're over here self-analyzing yourself, like, what am I doing wrong? And so I think that with all the media consumption, or with people's new take on like wanting to monitor their lives online or find their footing on social media, people think that every little thing has to be perfect, but that's not the case, because everybody, including the person making the content, they strive to find some realism through everything they watch. They want to see that part of them in the person that they watch. They want to see that internal aspect that humanizes all of us. And so, but when everything is meticulously placed out, it makes it feel so far-fetched and so precise that it takes us out of the big picture of that we're all just here existing, trying our best. And when people forget that sometimes everybody's just trying their best, like nobody's done this before, and so they think that, oh, they're good, like they're better at doing this than me. No, they just probably had more practice, they spent more time doing that, they had a different environment. It's never just like, oh, they've had like, eons. No, they were born just as you were, and under different circumstances. That's just gives them leverage. It doesn't necessarily make them like know how to be a human better than you. It doesn't make them any less insecure than you. And so I think that everybody like has their own faults, and I think a lot of that gets forgotten because everybody only chooses to acknowledge what they see. And so not knowing what goes, like, I have stuff going on, and I know my friends have stuff going on, but if you were to see us hanging out in public, you would never think that we had these underlying deep emotions going on in our social lives or in our personal lives, because that's not what it appears to be. There's always something else that people don't tell you, and I think a lot of that gets warped because we watch so much, we scroll and we watch people tell us about their lives, and but obviously there's always something that is kept for themselves. We watch a lot of reality TV, but I think a lot of people do forget that reality TV is just what it is. It's reality TV. These people, there are clips of their lives that we don't see, and so we will never know that part of them because that's for them to only have. And on top of that, reality TV is a source of making money, so it is structured in a sense that you will be the most entertained when you watch it. And so obviously, yeah, there are pieces that are true, but this is also like bits and pieces of their lives, because there are chances when they're not filming and then they start filming, and then they have the ability to turn off the camera and to edit and warp it so that it seems as though this is the normal for them, and or the normal that you perceived for to be. And so I think that that plays a role into how people see them, and then how they want to interpret the rest of other people. And how, let's say for like rich people like that have a lot of money and they have their own reality TV show, or they have a big personality online, people think that they can't have a bad day, because how could you possibly have a bad day when you're so better off? But it's like they're human too, and there's that pressure that they can't have a bad day because of the sheer fact of the position that they're put in. Because it goes for how people treat like nepo babies. It's like, how could they have a bad day, like their parent is such and such? I'm sure that they have problems with their parents like everybody else has problems with their parents. I'm sure they've had their arguments with their parents like everybody else has had arguments with their parents. I just don't, but nobody would know that, because it's not like they're going to go around, because there's a lot more weight that it holds if they go online or start talking about their parent, because of the influence that their parent holds. And so I think people forget a lot of the time that people in better off positions are still people too. And those that are in lower positions, those are people too. Just because they are less fortunate doesn't mean they are any less deserving of people being able to understand and sympathize with them. I think a lot of things get caught up with the whole, does somebody think this? And does somebody think that about this person? When at the end of the day, everybody's just trying, and that's like the most anybody can do is just try, because nobody knows what they're doing. We are on a floating rock in the middle of space, and if that doesn't sound like it's straight out of a movie, then I don't know what does. But no, it's just like, it's like it goes. That's what when I thought of when she said, "Do you think he's scary?" I was like, that's like an interesting take, because it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, like, he wasn't scary. He would, like, I thought he could go into a child's room and scare them. He would have got me. But it's like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if he thought he was scary, if he thought he was anything, because his perception is all that mattered. And I hope that a lot of people realize that as much as we scroll and as much as we watch everybody's online, you'll never know the full picture. Because even when something happens to you personally, it's your side, the other person's side, and then the truth. So then you still don't have the full picture. And so I think there's a lot that goes on that people need to stop and take a second and like observe themselves too, as much as they observe everybody else, because then that'll help in solidifying what they know or what they're trying to perceive. Because once you're like solid foundation of who you are, then nothing can shake you, and that makes a very secure foundation to take in new information to help be able to process it better. And yeah, I think that that's a very important thing to do, and something very vital that people need to do to be able to understand where other people are coming from. Because when you realize how hard it is to find yourself, you realize how hard it must be able for somebody else to do the same thing. And that's when you start giving grace to people, because I don't think that people should give grace for something in return. I think they should give grace for the fact that they can't. It's not a lot of people can give grace to people, and I think that it's a very nice ability to be able to do such and not feel like it's a burden to myself to have to force myself to do something and give this to somebody that I don't know. It's more so we're all human. These are people on this planet trying to figure life out just as I'm trying to figure it out. And I think that my perspective of it is the only one that I can see, and so that's all I can do. And so as long as I try my best, I don't have to worry about if anybody else is trying their best, because that's all it is. And so, like, do I think he's scary? It's not a question for me. That's a question for Mike Wazowski. Like, do I think he's scary? It's not my problem. So, but yeah, guys, that's the end of the video. The scenery will change. This is my closet, so it's a mess. And then this is like my old prom dress, just to be clear on like my scenery, because like the last video, I came home for it this summer, so I'm not in my dorm, so this is like different. Obviously, like I have other aspects of my room if you see like my other videos and stuff, but like I'm kind of like setting that up. But like, yeah. But anywho, I hope that you guys like this made you think or wander. I hope this made you wander. Yeah. Bye, guys.